Hello YouTube, welcome to the Edain Hero Submod / Dagor Dagorath mod. This mod combines the Edain 3.8.1 Hero Submod and the Dagor Dagorath mod. And today we'll be going over, we'll be showcasing Mordor. So, you just load up the test map real quick. And I will show off and describe a little bit how Mordor works. So for those of you who have never heard of either of the two mods, the Edain Hero Submod is well, from Edain 3.8.1, and it makes all the heroes have like multiple Palantirs and tons of crazy abilities. And then the Dagor Dagorath mod, which is based off Edain, has first stage units and Valar summon, so you can summon Morgoth, Manwë, and a bunch of other figures from Tolkien's Legendarium. So today we'll start with Mordor. Go through the power tree real quick. We have Tainaland, buff our units. Endless Hordes. This regenerates units in a battalion. We have the Eye of Sauron, it's Eye of Sauron if you ever played a BFME game. We've got Lord of the Earth, which is a passive ability for Sauron, so he levels up faster, and then once he reaches level 10, he'll recharge his abilities a little faster. We have Moranon Orcs. It's been basically, you just summon some black orcs to the field, but when you have first stage, so this power, you get 2 orc captain heroes as well. They called a horde is called a horde. Sentinels of Black Country, this is the barricade summon. Black art, this is barrage. So you hit an area with a bunch of catapults. We have our first stage, Army of the Past. This gives us access to the Angband Fortress, where we can summon dragons. And our heroes are Karkaroth and Glaurung, and then of course our Valar would be Morgoth. We have Wisdom of the Past. This allows Sauron to become Gorthar. We have Rage of the Lord of Minas Morgul. This is an AoE spell that does a lot of damage to units in a pretty wide area, and it damages buildings a little bit too. And then last we have Betrayers of the Quendi. This is a really very powerful summon. It basically gives you a small first stage army of elite evil men units from the first stage, and it's very strong, and it comes with a powerful hero too. So we'll just unlock some of these. Well, actually, before we get Gorthar, we'll wait a sec. And then I'm going to use my trainer to speed this up a little bit and build the buildings. Okay, and this will level them up too for us, so we don't have to waste time going through all that. So for Mordor, we have your standard orc pit, we have the troll cage, we got our siege works, so we build our siege units and Grond, and we also have the Hiradrim Palace, which gives us access to evil men units and heroes of the Haradwaith. And then, of course, we have our own statue and tower and a wall hub. Okay, so for the orc pit, we'll go over like the units and some of the buildings first. You got your standard orc units, basic swordsman, basic pikeman, and basic archer. A banner carry upgrade, fire upgrade, and then overseer, which basically just gives specific armor and damage bonuses to orc units depending on which region they're from. So these are Mordor orc units. If we equip them with an overseer, they get 50% armor and damage. For the lidless eye. We have trolls. We can also upgrade troll armor and troll weapons here. So this is how we turn mountain trolls into battle trolls. And then these are just weapons. Siege hammers are good against buildings. Mace attack gives them more AoE. And then troll swords are good against heroes. So we have our standard mountain troll. They're good against like swordsmen and buildings. They can throw rocks, and they can go into melee, and they can grab trees. So it gives them AoE attack. We have a drama troll, so we can give our units leadership. We have our basically our elite monster, one of our elite monster units, the armored attack troll. This unit comes with has a very strong armor set. He's very resistant to all sorts of damage types. And the last one we have the Olokai, which are also have very strong armor, but they're actually they're pretty good against heroes.
The attack troll is armored up.
And for our siege works, you got your standard battering ram, regular catapult, siege tower, troll catapult, which does a little bit more damage than the Mordor catapult, and then we have Grand, of course. And then for our Haradrim Fortress, this gives us access to some Haradrim units, and then later on, when we upgrade Khamul, we can get some elite Easterling units. So we'll get our upgrade to discount our Easterlings. This upgrade equips the fortress with the fire arrows. This equips the fortress with spikes, which deals damage to infantry units next to it. And then stonework, which increases the armor. And we got our Haradrim archers. These archers are much stronger than any of the orc archers, and they come with a barbed arrow shot, which does lots of damage to single targets. Got our spear throwers. They can act as like pikemen, as ranged pikemen, basically, because if they get trampled, they'll do like pikeman revenge damage to cavalry. And they also have more health than orc units. We'll save the first stage stuff for a little bit later. Let's get our heroes now. All right, we built the tower, so let's go one by one through the heroes. Let's start with Gothmog. At level 1, he gets a warg and a leadership. Orcs gain 50% damage and immunity to fear and terror. Now let's level him up. At level 3, he gets Call the Horde, which basically like the spell Call the Horde. Anything from the Orc Pit gets summoned really fast. We got Release the Prisoners. This unlocks the ability for the Mordor catapult, so they can launch skulls, which fears enemy units. And then lastly, we got Kill All in Your Path, which is just a very strong buff for orc units. Makes them deal double damage, and then they get very strong resistance to pierce damage and siege damage. The Mouth of Let's go to the Mouth of Sauron. He's basically more or less of a support hero. And he has 2 Palantier's abilities. So this switches to Palantir. He gets a mount. He has a lightning sword ability, which is like Gandalf's. He gets this ability, which it like cloaks a building, and then units around the building, I believe they lose armor and damage when they come near it. And then he gets this ability called Evil Eye, which is just a powerful, just like a powerful, like one-shot ability, which is good against heroes and single units. Yeah. So for his other Palantir, he gets different debuffs. This one, the target enemy and machines, so siege, it also works on siege units. They lose 50% vision and range. This one makes units fight each other. This one slows down infantry and cavalry. And cavalry, when they like trample, they slow down a lot faster, so the trample wears off quicker. And then lastly, this is works only on heroes. It just weakens their armor by 50%. Alright. We've got our 2 Nazgul. So, for the most part, they have this. So they have the same abilities, and they come with different stances. So, what do I mean by that? So, their stances, instead of, it's not like other stances. So each of their stance unlocks other abilities. So in each of their stance, they have a debuff, which enemy units lose 25% armor damage, and then if you put them either on hold ground or attack stance, they gain a different effect when they attack. So if they're in an attack stance, they lose 25% armor, and then when they attack a unit, the unit loses 25% additional armor. And same thing for hold ground stance. They also lose 25% additional armor. Let's get Sauron. And we'll get Khamul too, because he kind of ties it in. So as the Necromancer, he gets this teleport ability at level 1. And as he levels up at levels 3, 6, and 9, he unlocks different regions. So Minas Morgul, Gothmog, and Dagor Dagorath. Let me lower the music a little bit. Okay. So at specific or at timed intervals, he will stun enemy units basically and make them cower in fear. And then he has his magic attack, or his basically his range attack. It debuffs their armor by 50% and their speed by 25%. This ability unlocks the ring abilities for the Nazgul and Khamul. Oh, and when he reaches a certain level, when he kills enemy units, they summons them in the whites, but that'll almost never happen. This ability changes the Palantir. And then this ability, if I kill a unit with a Morgoth blade, per se, I can turn that wraith into a Morgul shadow. This is a powerful elite unit, and he gains abilities depending on which race of unit he kills. So if he kills an example, a Manish unit, he gains new abilities. This ability reduces experience gain of units, and they constantly lose health. And then this ability reduces the armor of units of nearby enemy units. So let's get back to our Nazgul. Actually, let's get the Witch King too. He's kind of the suit. Okay. So the Nazgul unlock their armor depending on Sauron's level, which is level 5. So I'll stick with these two. So this, as you see, we switched to Palantir. Now we can choose between the Ring Hunter and the Battle Gear. So this Nazgul will turn into the Dark Marshal if we buy his Battle Gear. Basically, if they buy the Battle Gear, they get better stats, but they miss out on using their Fell Beasts, and I personally think they get worse powers from Sauron's Dark Power ability. But let's get back to Sauron real quick. We'll switch to Palantir. This ability buffs certain specific units that you control. I think it mostly works on orc units, but I'm not actually sure. But anyway, and then when they die, they release an explosion on death. Okay. This summons a copycat, or a mirage. It's basically just a decoy Sauron. But he also... yeah. Just a decoy with low health to confuse the enemy. And then, this ability, I believe it kills a unit and then it summons a unit in his place. Yeah. You kill a single target and then it summons, in this case, a Castellan. And then, lastly, when he's in the Necromancer form at level 10, he enters his fire form. And he gains more damage. And I believe he can walk through units too. No, you can't walk through units. Okay, he just gains more damage. And is stronger. Okay. Now, let's get back to our Nazgul. Oh, I guess I didn't mention this before. They have a mount. In this form, they just have their horse. But if they go Ring Hunter, they can go get their Fell Beast. And that unlocks more abilities. They have Screech, level 4. And then they have the Morgul Blade, obviously. So let's, we'll do one of... we'll put them in... we'll show off the... We'll show off all the battle gear for all the Nazgul. So that's the Shadow Prince, and this is the Dark Marshal. So in these forms, they unlock new stances. For the Shadow Prince, is closer the enemy units are, the more damage they lose. And as you can see, he still has a Screech and his Morgul Blade. And by the way, Morgul Blade, if it's used against heroes, it pins them, which is basically pins them in place for, I think it's like 20 seconds. And then lastly, his level 10 passive, he reflects all damage dealt to him by 50%, which is very strong. And combined with his upgraded armor set, makes him very tanky. So for the Shadow Prince, in his attack stance, he loses 25% armor, but every time he hits enemy units, he weakens their armor against pierce and specialist damage. And yes, I'll show you how it looks. See, he still debuffs him. He still debuffs him by 25% armor damage. See, now those units are weaker to pierce and specialist damage. And a whole ground stance, when he attacks enemies, this works on heroes too, they lose 50% visibility, so that's very good against archers and ranged units. For the Dark Marshal, like I said, all Nazgul have the same debuff, which is minus 25% armor damage. And by the way, most debuffs they remove buffs and leadership. So his attack stance again loses 25% armor, but when he attacks units, their abilities recharge 50% slower. So not very useful. It's okay against heroes, but not really that good. And then he doesn't actually have an effect when he attacks and hold ground stance. It's just his standard debuff. But in this form, he does get a paralyze at level 4 instead of just a regular screech. He gets his Morgul Blade, and then he gets this ability, Massacre, which reduces the armor of everything. Literally everything, your units, their units, heroes, by 100%. So you gotta be kind of careful with it. We have Khamul. In his base form, he gets the standard Nazgul stances. Gets a mount. He gets this ability, which is useful against buildings. This disables a building for 30 seconds. This keeps the building revealed for you for a time, and then this building gives you, or this ability makes the building give you 1,000 resources. He's got his Morgul Blade, and then he gets his armor, and now he gets a new set of stances. So in all his stances, he basically does damage over time to buildings. Let me move him over here. And hold ground stance. When he attacks, he causes enemies to lose 50% speed. And when he's in attack stance, when he attacks a building, it temporarily disables production. So in this form, he gets his mount, and he gets a Fell Beast. This ability, I guess I'll show that off. Oh, there. As you can see, the building's taking damage over time, quite a lot. This passive works when he's on his horse, but not when he's on his Fell Beast.
It's the ring. Take it quickly.
So basically, when he's on his Fell Beast, he gets you can see cloaked units. He gets a new passive debuff where they lose 50% experience, 25% speed, and 30% damage. He gets his Screech for fear, and then he gets this very cool ability where he basically debuffs enemy units. They have 50% armor, and it also, this description is wrong, but he also temporarily becomes invincible for like 30 seconds. So let's put him back on the ground. This ability, new abilities for disabling buildings. This temporarily disables a building, and this summons bats over a building. So you can see it, or you can like have permanent vision around it. Well, not permanent vision, but temporary vision. In this ability, he goes into Wraith form, so if he's like low on health, you can use this and he can escape danger, because in his Wraith form, he can't be attacked or attack. But he still does get his Morgul Blade, and he gets this unique ability where he actually absorbs health from your units in order to regenerate his own health. While we're waiting for him, For that to wear out, we'll go over the Witch King. In his this is his Ring Hunter form. He gets 2 Planters of abilities. He gets his mount, his horse. He gets his own Screech. He gets this Ring Hunter ability, which is leadership for allied troops and Nazgul. So basically, allied troops get 25% armor and damage, and then ring wraiths get 25% speed and 25% damage and 50% vision. He gets his own wraith form, kind of like Khamul's, but it's a little bit different. He still gets his blade, but you know, he gets kind of a passive AoE attack, or not a passive. He gets an AoE attack near, just by standing near units. And he can't move. So, alright. We'll wait for him to get out of Wraith form. Now back to Khamul. We change his Palantir. He gets a Screech, his Morgul Blade, and then he gets his Black Easterling summon. This basically summons a group of elite pikemen. And then this ability is dependent on the fortress. So as Sauron levels up and unlocks his domains, he gets the fortress unlocks a power from each of the regions. So this is for Kirthungol, called the Black Country. Basically, it gives Shagag, Gorbag, and Morgoth, or Moloch new abilities. Threat of the East. This is for Khamul. We'll go over these in a second. Then Minas Morgul Unleashed. Okay, back to the Witch King. We'll switch to Palantir. He's got his Morgul Corruption. He's got this ability, Morgul Sorcery, which poisons enemy units. And then if they die, it summons wraiths in their place. Very, very good ability. He's got this ability, Crippling Magic. Basically just sets the enemy hero's abilities to just used. And then he's got his battle armor. So, in this, with his battle armor on, he still has the standard Nazgul debuff, but like I mentioned before, he unlocks new abilities depending on stance. In his aggressive stance, when he attacks units or in heroes, they take more damage from magic. So if you use a spell like Morgul Sorcery or Hour of the Witch King, they will take more damage. And then his hold ground stance power is if he attacks an enemy, they lose a 50% experience gain. So that's pretty mediocre. The aggressive stance one is definitely better, but he does lose 25% armor. So his abilities are all pretty much still the same, but this is how you unlock his word of power, basically. Does quite a lot of damage. And then also when he uses this ability, he uses his sword. This is very good against heroes. It does extra damage to heroes when he uses his sword. Okay. Let's go back to all our Nazgul now. So, actually, let's go back to Khamul. When he's on his horse, he gains, I should have gone over this earlier, but he gains this ability called Power of the One, where he gains 250% damage, 50% speed, and 50% speed. This ability is also available when these two Nazgul are in their Ring Hunter form. So, it's quite a strong ability. Alright, now. Dark Power. This is how you unlock the Ring of Power ability for your two Nazgul and Khamul. So we'll just activate that. As you can see, it unlocks their Rings of Power. Alright, so for Khamul, he summons a forest, and then if it's used around buildings, they're temporarily disabled. Units who walk into the forest lose their vision and speed. And then his other ability was basic, I shouldn't have clicked on it, but anyway. His other ability is basically mini fire, like it sets an area on fire, basically. And then for the Dark Marshal, this is a lightning strike ability. It just kind of summons a powerful lightning strike down on area, and then he gets this ability. So when he uses this, he loses 25% armor and damage, but he's immune to magic, ice, fire, and poison damage. And then he gets 3 effects possible effects when he attacks units. He freezes enemies, he sets enemies on fire, or he slows them and poisons them.
He will feed on you.
This is a very strong ability. And then lastly for oh, it's activated again. For the Shadow Prince, we gain access to the Massacre.
Watch as I massacre your followers.
So basically, we summon the statue, and we need to sacrifice. It requires sacrifices in order to get it to unlock its power. So this is kind of like Mouth of Sauron's cloak ability, where enemies are on a building lose armor and damage, or they lose speed and damage. This one buffs a Nazgul, so when they come near it, they lose an additional 25% armor and damage. And then this, which is in my opinion the best one, if you sacrifice all of these people here, you can summon the Shadow Guards, which are very powerful single elite units. So we'll just sacrifice all these people.
Cease your pointless struggle. You will accept your fate. Cease your pointless struggle. You will accept your fate. Cease your pointless struggle. You will accept your fate.
Okay. Now we've sacrificed all of them. We can summon our Shadow Guards.
Fall before us and rise.
Like I said, powerful, very powerful single elite units. Their powers, they get double armor and deal double damage.
There will be no slacking here.
Since we have Sauron leveled up, we'll build the expansions. Like I said before, when Sauron hits levels 3, 6, and 9, he unlocks different expansions. So you can get new units and access to new orcs.
No slacking here. Build.
So there's Dagor Dagorath, Minas Morgul, and Cirith Ungol.
You know what to do. Another building over.
So from Dagor Dagorath we get Castellans, which are powerful, heroic elite units. They have a terrain ability that also debuffs enemy unit speed. And then they have this unlocks another ability where they get temporary invulnerability and they deal double damage, and they get a permanent health buff. And then at level 5 they get immunity to magic, poison, and elemental damage. And you got the Dagor Dagorath spiders. These units, it's just kind of like weak cavalry units that debuff enemy cavalry. And then each of the regions can be used to add a new type of orc to the standard orc pit. So I'm going to use that on the orc pit, and we'll get back to that. So for Minas Morgul, you can recruit the Black Riders.
And Nazgul's with us.
So basically a heroic battalion of Nazgul, and they're a little bit weaker than your standard Nazgul. They get the same debuff, Morgul Blade, Screech, and they get this ability, Black Breath, which is basically just a small poison AoE attack. It's not that strong, but this battalion itself is really good against heroes, and they have really good trample. Speaking of cavalry, Morgul Riders, these are your elite cav. If there's a wraith, like the white spirit we saw earlier, they lose less acceleration when trampling, so they get trample deceleration. And then if they're level 6, they turn into spirits when they die. And we have another heroic unit.
Their insolence will not go unpunished.
This is from Age of the Ring, I believe. I didn't make the mod, so. They have the standard debuff, 25 damage and 20% armor. They have Morgul Blade, and then they have their own Morgul source, their own Screech. This is basically Screech. And from Cirith Ungol, we get the Black Orcs, and we also get Shagrat and Gorbag, which are basically a hero unit, not really a hero, and they both have the same abilities. But more on the Cirith Ungol, we get Black Orc Warriors. These are strong. These are basically your strongest orcs. They have the most health. They have good armor, and they also deal splash damage. And you have the Black Orc Archers. Their arrows debuff all enemies. This works against all enemies. It debuffs their damage by 25% for 10 seconds. And then back to the Orc Pit. From Minas Morgul, you get the Morgul Orc Warrior. Basically just stronger orcs.
Keep going. Move.
And then from Cirith Ungol, you get pikemen. And from Dol Guldur, you get archers. And the archers, the Dol Guldur archers come with poison arrows as their default weapon. So obviously these are better than your standard orc archers, and they also have more health. And each get their own unique buffs from the Overseer. Dol Guldur orcs get 25% armor damage. I believe Morgul orcs get 50% damage and armor. Yep, they're 50% damage and 25% armor. And then Cirith Ungol units get 50% damage and 25% armor. As I mentioned before, when you unlock Khamul's armor, you unlock these elite Easterling units. So these are Easterling Blackguards. These are elite pike or swordsmen, and they get a very powerful attack where they get more damage against, or they deal more damage, and then they get damage scalers against extra damage against cavalry and monsters, heroes, and structures.
The Easterlings are here. We must crush the west.
And then there's Khamul's personal Cataphract Vanguard Battalion. Their formation gives them more damage but less armor. And then this ability, which is honestly not very good, they get more speed and less trample deceleration, but they lose 50% damage. But yeah. And then the last third age unit is I'm not even sure there's a third age unit, to be honest, but this war chariot, which is basically a battle wagon, but it also has a mobile well. Pretty cool. So let's get back to Sauron and Nazgul. Oh, we're done with that. Let's unlock Gorthar.
You cannot hope to stand against me. There is no victory for you here. Your victories are hollow. Every step you take brings you closer to your doom.
So, this ability unlocks 3 forms that Sauron can turn into. A vampire form, which basically turns into a shroud of bats, and the bats have lifesteal. And they're very fast, and they do quite a bit of damage to siege and buildings.
Give in to the one.
He has his wolf form. In this form, he's very fast and does lots of. He does a lot of AOE damage, splash damage, and he also gets. I think this is a stun. No, it's a tear. Okay, it makes him run away. And then he summons a pack of wolves.
You cannot hope to stand against me.
And then this last form.
There is no victory for you here.
This is not really a form. It's just this requires the ring. This last form you can turn into is an Anatar.
It's him. Clear out.
This makes enemy units fight each other. This makes all units, including your own, stop attacking. And then this is a mind control, where you can take over control of an enemy battalion. That ability.
Give in to the one.
I guess I'll go over real quick. This is when he gets the ring. Obviously, he turns into he becomes a second age form, and then all ringwraiths get a global buff, 30% armor, 30% damage, double health regeneration, and the 25% cooldown reduction on their abilities.
It's the ring. Take it quickly.
So he has a Destiny Sword, which is basically a very powerful Blade Master.
You are powerless
with
to
extra
stop
abilities.
the darkness.
At level 2, he gains lifesteal. At level 4, it does extra flame damage. At level 6, it adds AoE. At level 8, it adds knockback. And at level 10, it adds a... I'm not actually sure what it does, but I think it's just a cool visual effect. Still has his dark power ability. This switches to Palantir. At level 10, he can summon Tolan Gorohoth, which is a very powerful fortress, a mini fortress you can summon. It buffs all units. It reveals stealth units, and it also acts as a well. And it can summon a werewolf. And if enemy units are nearby, it'll summon bats to attack. So switch to Palantir. This ability summons down a rain of fire, or a pillar of fire, on an area. This ability has a very wide radius. It basically summons like a shadow world that does damage over time, and it blinds enemy units, and they're weaker to fear and terror. We still have our Thraldom ability, where we turn a spirit into a Morgul source, or I forget what the unit's called. A Morgul Shadow, that's right. For this ability, you can use it on any unit, hero, or structure. Basically, that target becomes invincible, but they do no damage, and then units, like enemies around it, take some damage. It's not very good, but it can be useful in niche situations. And we have our ultimate ability, or we summon a vortex, and it does quite a bit of damage to units, and it just sends them all over the place, so they're much easier to kill. Alright. We'll go over Shagrat and Gorbag. They're kind of weird to level up, so we need to have them kill a unit. We're waiting for them to kill something and level up. I forgot to mention one thing. This Mordor troll. This is gonna be random, but yeah, this is when you lock the armor at the troll cage. This is how you turn him into an attack troll, and then you can choose his weapon. Alright, they leveled up. So this ability gives him temporary scavenger. This does a lot of damage to a target, and it does damage over time. This summons a hostile Shelob, but I don't think it works. Oh yeah, it only seems to attack them for some reason. And then this last ability just doesn't work.
What's this? She jabs him with her stinger, and he comes as limp as a bonefish.
Okay.
What's this?
I think that's alright. So we get to our last third age hero, Moloch. So basically, he has a leadership for trolls where they gain armor and damage. He has a Blade Master where he does double damage and gains 50% armor. He gets a Leap ability, which does a lot of damage, AoE damage. He gets an ability that does like minimal amount to units, but a lot to buildings. It's a small AoE attack. And then he gets a buff. This works on all monsters, not just trolls. So where they gain 30% armor, 40% damage, and 60% speed. Now, we'll just get the rest of these powers. Now let's head on over to the first stage. So the fortress has before going into the fortress has a couple of passives. It has a heal. It heals units and heroes nearby. It reduces the cost of dragons. So these dragons here in the fortress, and it reduces the speed of reviving heroes. It attacks enemy units nearby will take damage, and then all your units and heroes nearby will gain experience 300% faster. Alright, so for units we have the Iron Worm, which is basically a weaker version of Grond, but it provides leadership and you can garrison units in it. The leadership only affects orc units though, so you use it if you want to roleplay, I guess. And we have Angbang Fire Drakes. They're pretty tanky. They have a lot of health, and then they get an armor upgrade and an Inferno, where they just kind of breathe fire over a small area. We got our Winged Dragons. These are incredibly strong, elite flying units. They get a Wing Blast, which is they basically it's basically a stun on units underneath them. An armor upgrade, and then they get Incinerate, which is basically Inferno, but in a bigger area. I guess I'll show it off, or show a little bit off. Now let's recruit our two first stage heroes, Karkaroth and Glaurung. I forgot to show off our Men of the East heroes. So we have Casimir, Suladan, and Selim.
You're golden. I will lead. If you don't stop your blubbering, there'll be one more sea to sail. Back to Davy Jones's locker. It was only orders, and I steal for a living.
It takes 3.
Okay, let's get them leveled up.
Oh, aye.
So Casimir, he toggles his fire bombs, which gives him a ranged attack. He has a passive. He gives passive scavenger to everything, all units and heroes. And then he also steals resources from attacking buildings. And then if you activate this ability, you steal a whole bunch of resources from a resource building, and it disables it. This is if you're on a map with ships, you can capture an enemy ship forever. This is a minor heal, and then Casimir, and then Corsair units. You basically are Corsairs from the inn. Deal double damage, but lose speed. And then this is a summon for Corsair units. So we have Suladan. He has a mount. He has a very powerful leadership, but it only works on Men of the East units, so Corsairs, the units, the Easterling and Haradrim units from the palace, and then it also works on the first stage summoned units. You can also summon a Mumakil pen, so you can train Mumakil if you want. And then he gets this very cool ability where he summons a bunch of Mumakil to trample an area. This ability is very strong. So Selim, she's more of a hero killer. And this ability, so basically she's only you can only see her when she's attacking, and you can camouflage your units. This sets a trap. There's 3 traps, 3 types of traps. This one affects all units. These 2 affect all units. This one is like a mini bomb. This one debuffs enemy units, and then this one poisons them.
It takes 3 to rule.
This one is this ability is a summon. It summons Husharines. They also get buffed by Suladan. They can stealth, and then her last ability is a passive. It affects her weapon, and she gets more attack speed and a little bit of AoE. Now back to our first stage heroes. Let's get them leveled up. So, for Karkaroth, level 2, this ability triggers darkness on the map, which buffs all your units and your heroes, I believe. Yes, this works on the darkness he summons works for heroes too. This is a pin. This ability is a pin, so the heroes immobilize and they lose 25% armor. This is a small AoE attack that knocks units. That also knocks back units. At level 8, he gets an armor upgrade, and then at level 10, he gains a very, very powerful ability where he gains 250% damage, immunity, knockback, fear, terror. He can trample more units, and he gains lifesteal. And it debuffs enemy units. There, you can just run through them.
Take it quickly.
Next is Glauron. So at level 2, he gains this is basically a Screech enemy unit's Flee in Terror. He gains Convert Battalion, so he can take control of enemy units. He gains a Pin. At level 8, he gains an armor upgrade, and he grants leadership to dragons, so your drakes and your winged dragons. They gain 50% armor and immunity to frost damage. And at level 10, he summons 4 temporary, I think they're temporary, let me see. Yeah, the temporary fire drakes. And they have a fireball summon, which is pretty good against clumps of enemies. Before we go on to Morgoth, I'm going to show off some of the power. I'll show off the powers of the fortress. So each of these gives different passive effects, and then it unlocks different abilities for specific heroes. So we'll do Minas Morgul Unleashed. This will affect Gothmog and the Witch King, and it also gives all your units increased speed. Now Gothmog has a new Palantir.
The age of men is over. These lands will burn.
Oh, I went too fast. But depending on which one you pick, he grants armor to that type of unit. So right now, battering rams get 50% armor. This is a buff for catapults and archers. But it limits their mobility. And then this summons a mini barrage on the target area. Now let's find the Witch King. And just a reminder that these this is a temporary. They for like 60 seconds. So. For this ability, he makes a siege weapon permanently gain 75% damage. This is a buff to specifically Morgul units, so Morgul Orcs and Morgul Vanguard. They gain 50% armor and double damage. It also buffs your Nazgul. They gain more experience, and then it also debuffs enemy units. And then his level 9 ability summons 5 Wraiths on Wings. So this is very good for taking out buildings. Because remember, they're also buffed by the Witch King.
The time of the orc has come. Back to the fortress.
Now we'll do Threat of the East. Now we need Khamul. So for this, the passive power is that all Mordor heroes gain experience faster, and then Khamul's power is basically after a minute, you get a free army of Haradrim units, which works very well if you're combining it with Suladan. Speaking of Easter units, our Momokill pen, you can summon regular Momokill. We can research Warpaint for them, and we can get our Ancient Momokill, which is just a very, very, very strong Momokill. As you can see, it's got almost 20,000 health, and it does a lot more damage than your standard Momokill. So After a minute has been up, we get basically free elite units of Easterling units.
Come, Easterlings. We must crush the West. Soldiers.
And then, is it not going to show up? I guess we'll have to wait a sec. Should be showing up here soon. Maybe not. But, alright. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. The second to last thing we'll cover is our Valar, Morgoth.
I bring destruction.
So all the Valars have 50,000 health and very high damage. And they'll have a passive ability and 2 active abilities. So for Morgoth, he has 3 effects in this passive. So basically, all units and heroes around him gain 50% damage, 50% armor, and 300% experience. Your dragons, so your these winged dragons and the fire drakes gain invulnerability to magic damage. And then he also debuffs enemy units and heroes, where they lose 40% damage and speed around him.
Path of destruction.
This ability summons basically a darkness that debuffs the enemy. All units on the battlefield lose 9% vision, 20% armor, 30% speed.
Yes.
And then he has this
To the place of darkness.
this very strong AoE attack that is does lots of damage to buildings and infantry. Find some infantry to use it on. Those are elites. So yeah, very strong.
I bring
Andy's pretty quick. Andy does a knockback.
small minds are quickly broken.
Alright, so the last thing we're going to cover is Sauron in his ring form. So let's get him the ring.
Arise. You think to challenge me here, but you will fail.
That's kind of bugging right now, but it doesn't matter. Once we get the ring, we should be fine.
It's the ring. Take it quickly. Get the ring back to the fortress.
Arise.
Ah, okay. Alright, we'll do this one last thing before we give him the ring. We'll call the Black Country. So, this slows down enemy units the closer they get to the fortress. And then Moloch, Shagrat, and Gorbag get new abilities. This ability doesn't work apparently. Oh, this is basically Bloodlust, where units fight each other, and then Shagrat and Gorbag gain the experience instead. And it doesn't work apparently.
And he goes as limp as a bone fish.
I believe this just equips orcs with overseers for free. And then this summons a Shelob. Is it gonna work? No. Whatever. And then Moloch. This passive doesn't work currently, but normally you would be able to summon these orcs from the orc pit. Oh wait, they didn't even get summoned. It doesn't matter. This ability turns mountain trolls into attack trolls. And then this ability just summons 3 Ologhai. Or 3 attack tools, yeah.
Prepare for war. The attack troll is
All right.
armored up.
Now, we'll finally get to the last part of this overview. We're going to give Sauron the ring. Okay. Now Sauron has the ring, and he gains access to 2 different palanters of abilities. But first, on his actual wheel, he gets he detects stealth units in a wide radius. This unlocks all the regions if they haven't already. This is the strongest debuff in the game. This affects heroes and units, and they lose 50% armor and damage instead of 25. If you have this power, Wisdom of the Past, he gains 3,000 life points and 90% armor. And then this is how you switch palanters. Okay, so for his ring abilities, he gets a fear. So units run away. He gets a convert allegiance. He gets dark power, we've already seen that. This is a debuff. So this works on heroes and units. Heroes and units lose 50% armor, 25% speed, and are blind. Heroes also take longer to recharge their abilities. This is a incredibly strong lightning attack. This does lots and lots of damage. Just look at those power points go. We got Rain of Fire. We have Dark Will, which basically it makes him temporarily invulnerable, and it also increases his movement and attack speed by 50%. So basically activates this ability, he can kill pretty much any hero in the game, including Valar's. And also he does get more damage in this, even though it doesn't say. And then his last ability is basically a Word of Power. And if any units survive, they lose 25% armor and damage. Okay, for this Palantir, he gains more magic-based abilities. So for this, it is basically a mini Word of Power. This is a heal. He heals 50% of his health. We got his Power of the Damned, so the ability we used earlier to buff our orc units. He gets the Shadow Realm ability where they're debuffed and then they take damage over time. We have Necromancy, so when he's based in the little area he creates with this ability, he summons units and he gains a speed boost. For this ability, he summons 4 Pillars of Fire instead of 1. This ability is the same. And then this ability is also the same. I guess I'll show off the summon real quick. As you see, these are our elite first stage men units. And then where's our hero?
Leave none alive! Rain. The tide of darkness they will rises. Fear us. The Dark Lord shall reign. Land will be ours. Do not dare.
So he grants fear and terror resistance, and then he also debuffs enemy vision and range. And then he has the same effect as Mouth of Sauron's Descent, where units fight each other. So that's it for the video, guys. It was a long video. There's I showcased a lot, maybe too much, but I want to show off how cool Mordor is in this mod. So as you can see, Sauron gets basically 20 abilities. And yeah, that's all. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you want to play the mod, there'll be a link down in the description to the Discord where we can get that set up for you. So peace out, guys. Have a good one.